Sorry, guys. I had to take a phone call. But back to what I was saying about the Raiders. It's just disappointing. That's the best way I can put it. It's disappointing to know that this team, this team that made the playoffs last year, can't find a way to play any good football. It's just not the way you want to play. And in my opinion, they gotta blow it up again. Because I don't think you can win with Josh McDaniels. I saw something. Josh McDaniels won his first 6 games in Denver. He was 6-0 as a coach. Since then, he has 7 wins and I believe 40 losses. That you gotta work at that. You've won total of 13 games and lost 40. Can't happen. That can't happen. Sure, you can lose. That's okay. Like, that happens in sports. That happens all the time. But 40 losses to 13 wins is like, how'd you get another coaching job? When Pat Sherman got the job in New York, I was like, how did he get a coaching job? He had 9 wins as a coach in 3 years. Like, that can't happen. And yes, you say, well, yes, but he was the coordinator in Minnesota when they had Case Keenum and they made it to the playoffs and they did all these sweet things. I'm like, yeah. When I remember what happened in that playoff game between them and Philadelphia, they got smoked. They couldn't stop anybody. They could not play offense. They got smoked on defense. They couldn't do anything. Yet he gets the job in New York, and yet he gets fired because they can't do anything. It's just what happens. You got a lot of lucky breaks to go your way. That's how it works in the NFL. Now, the final thing that we got to discuss. The best way I can put him, he's a disgraceful tyrant. That's the best way I can put it. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. No, I'm not talking about ESPN. That a couple weeks ago. Go back in a couple weeks if you want to see that. I'm talking about Skip Bayless, a disgraceful tyrant who says he's a Cowboys fan when he's not. I'm going to describe it like this. When you're in the media and you're in their kind of world, it's hard to have people go and say, yes, I like this team. I've liked this team since I was born. I'm in favor to this team. I'm going to defend them, even though how bad they played and how bad they are. You don't see that on television. You rarely see a person who's a Browns fan on television on these sports shows. And when the years were getting bad, they barely talked at all, if they ever would admit that they were a Browns fan. They would never admit it. They just wouldn't. That's what happened. Skip Bayless is the same way. When the Cowboys find a way to win, he's exceptionally happy. I told you. They lose a game, the sky is falling. That's not the way the NFL works. So it may work in Dallas, but it's not the way it works. And for the most part, you can say, well, this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. I want to label this. Mike McCarthy got the job in Dallas. When McCarthy got the job, Jason Garrett was not fired. They just did not renew his contract. When McCarthy got the job, Bayless said, I don't want him as the head coach. I don't want a fat, chubby head coach. That's what he said. Now, it's maddening that he thinks, or he thought at that time, and he probably still thinks this way, that the reason why McCarthy shouldn't be Cowboy head coach is because he's overweight. Which he slimmed down, by the way. I want you to know that McCarthy has slimmed down. But that was the first thing that Bayless said. And his co-host, the person who was actually the moderator, went and said, you can't say that. That's not his coaching. It's not against coaching at all. That's just you being mean to a person. He's like, and she was saying all these things about how her high school coach was a tad overweight and stuff like that. And yet he was like, oh my gosh, next question. He's banging his papers on the table like he always does, like he's a little kid who can't get his way. But it continues. You think that's bad? When he tends to say that he was a Cowboys fan when Tom Landry was the coach. He created this book. It was called God's Coach. It's not in the Cowboys stadium. Every Cowboys book is in that stadium. Jimmy Johnson's books, various other people's books, Mike Fisher's book, who's been covering the Cowboys for over 32 years. Not Skip Bayless. Why? Skip Bayless made fun of Tom Landry. Made fun of him being in the military, made fun of him being all these things. The one thing he said was this, and this was over the line. The military part was over the line too, but this was over the line. He mocked Tom Landry's religion. He mocked it. He couldn't understand why Tom Landry was there. Now, there's a lot of these coaches are religious. Former coach of the Colts, Frank Reich, was a priest or a minister for a couple of years before he was a coach. That's what it was. You can look it up on the internet. You can find it. Go look at Hard Knocks. It talks about it. Go look at NFL films. You can find them. You type in NFL films, Frank Reich, you will find them. They talk to Frank Reich